Ragnaroks Bison confirmed to milk feed wyverns. New features to arrive after the 5.5 update. And ARK build pieces or features teased to arrive with Lost Colony pre-orders. You're right, kids, it's Raasclark and welcome to your regular ARK community news. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. So Community Crunch 458 gives us a dossier for the Bison when we get Ragnarok on June the 18th, giving us a rough idea on what to expect when encountering and attempting to tame, and some interesting abilities offered once tamed. The devs explain that this burly heavyweight is not only looking to trample threats, but also milk a little extra value from your meals. When they go on to explain when encountering in the wild, they seem to be passive initially unless you're riding around on anything as big as an aloe, at which point they'll turn aggressive and hunt you down. So think a bit like what the Dreadnoughtus does at the moment, maybe combined with something like if they're a Xeno or Chalico, and with my guess that maybe this is related to the taming process, because whilst they explain that Bison is especially difficult to knock out, confirming it's a knockout tame, all the description revolving around it wanting to defend its herd when overmatched, knocking a T-Rex senseless before tossing creatures around. It sounds to me it's going to be a case of attempting to tank the Bison with a decent sized creature to eventually wear it out and put it to sleep that way. KO taming traditionally isn't a thing really, with later dinos being brought to ARK, and I wouldn't be surprised whether this one had some intricate contextual taming process too. But once tamed, it explains that the mama version, as long as she's nursing, will produce milk that is extremely nutritious and actually pairs with some of the more interesting recipes survivors have concocted. Whether this means it's simply going to buff existing recipes, which is quite fascinating, maybe adding an extra timer to them or improving the strength of the recipes that you know in ARK, which would be quite a fascinating addition indeed, or simply creating brand new recipes isn't quite clear, because they do go on to say any nearby baby creatures will want some of this once they smell it, maybe alluding to the recipes that you can make with the milk, or maybe that part of the dossier description is simply the use of milk as we speculated prior, the ability of milk offering maturation improvements or imprint improvements when fed to babies. But the big one, of course, we all kind of hoped for it, we all kind of expected it because it's milk, and you know what milk is in the game so far. Wyvern milk, right? It's a thing. You've had it for so many years now, and there's going to be a variant of it. No longer do you need to knock out wyverns to feed your baby wyverns if you've got a bison at hand, because it's confirmed baby wyverns treat it like their own mother's milk, which is going to be a blessing. A joyous bit of news for wyvern breeders out there, because you know the spoil timer on wyvern milk is insane. When you're even attempting to go and grab it yourself, having something on tap at base is definitely a thing people are going to be happy to hear and have in their base. Seeming to have an expected charge attack, I wouldn't be surprised if you can equip a cart to the saddle, and seems to offer an insulation buff when ridden and with the murder snow littering the middle section of Ragnarok if you're attempting to go and get some ice wyvern eggs. It makes sense, plus wyvern milk provides an insane insulation buff when drank, so keen to see what else this milk is definitely going to do. Don't forget, you or your creature drinking milk at any point also makes you invulnerable to fire damage, so I can see with something able to provide milk on demand, having finally something like an anti-pyromane is definitely a desired addition. Not forgetting its anti-bleed damage qualities on top, this is going to be possibly an improved meta for PvP too. Looking forward to it, and fingers crossed that June 18th date gets stuck to, but with some stuff definitely before then arriving in the next couple of weeks and after then. There's other pieces that weren't in this week's announcements that I guess are kind of included within there in expectation, but actually not. The first obvious one, notable consideration, is Summer Bash. We're going to get that at some point during this giant month of content drops. But a big one, this low system requirement mode that I originally assumed was part of the Unreal 5.5 update, but rereading the original announcement, it was actually explained not to expect it with the 5.5 update, and in fact we'd get this at some point this summer. Something that I'm definitely keen to learn more of. Whilst there's a lot of promise on 5.5 providing immediate performance benefits, a one-click button that can reduce all of the lovely graphics to something that won't look too pretty and almost look intelligible, but allow lower performing systems to actually play ARK well as maybe level the playing field for things like PvP. I'm really interested to see what this is, but it doesn't appear we're going to get this during the 5.5 update, and it's at some point this summer. So really, I'm simply explaining that not to expect this, as I thought, with the Unreal 5.5 update, and we're getting at some point offering a similar quality to the shader model 4 of ARK Survival Evolved. It's not going to look pretty, it's not going to look hot, but with the future proofing, I think Wildcard were hoping with ARK Survival Ascended, isolating a giant player base that aren't able to run Ascended has been one of their biggest battles since launch. Could this be a temporary solution to get players on board until we get to that point where we've all finally got the necessary hardware to run Ascended well? At the very least, all of this needs to be in place by the time Lost Colony arrives at the end of the year, because this will be a turning point for ARK's content, being the very first unique story map being brought to Ascended. And with that, as it was mentioned earlier in the week, we're going to get some Day Zero content to check out when we can pre-order this on June the 18th alongside the Ragnarok Ascended release. Think of that what you will, pre-ordering something well in advance of actually seeing what the content is going to be. I can imagine quite a few people aren't going to be too happy about that. Some people certainly are, and builders most definitely might be interested in what's coming, because not only are we getting the new structured tile set pieces and cosmetics that was seemingly campaigned by ARK builder, content creator, now employee of Wildcard, GG Fizz, but in a recent live stream hosted by our bearded brother Aaron Longstaff, GG Fizz dropped a little tease that they'll have something massive coming for builders with the pre-orders. Can't say anything more except for something might be returning from ASE, ARK Survival Evolved. With a wonder, what could this be if it's going to be referencing ARK Survival Evolved? It's something that was already existing in Survival Evolved that we aren't getting currently in Ascended. Maybe the return of giant hatch frames, or possibly the ability to finally snap railings to, well, quite frankly, anything, because you can't at the moment in ASA. Though being a system, it wouldn't quite make sense that you're going to get content through a pre-order, and that would need to be integrated into the base game, right? You couldn't have that as a pre-order feature, so therefore it would need to be a physical structure that you can place that's based on ARK Survival Evolved. Could it be maybe things like metal ocean platforms that we're not going to see until Genesis 1, and that's not coming until next year, so we'll get something like this before then. But then again, something that you're going to get later on doesn't feel like quite a tease. It feels like it needs to be referencing something that we never got in the transition from ASE to ASA. And honestly, I'm struggling to figure out exactly what this could be. Beyond giant metal hatch frames, that was perhaps the most missed structure that I felt that we didn't get with ASA. Understanding the new solutions that were provided instead, but the uses of hatch frames were quite prevalent in a lot of ASE builds, both PvE and PvP, so maybe it's alluding to that. Nevertheless, it's coming, and hopefully we'll find out more info about that as we lead towards that. But prior to that, Astraios massive update coming to that in only a couple of weeks. Very excited to see this in particular. Nakatas has been cooking, and whilst he's cooking, we're getting our milking fingers at the ready. Are you? Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.